I'm just going to go for it. Good morning, everyone. Holly King, how are you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel and beyond. If you are watching me on YouTube, please click subscribe, click the like button, and help me grow this channel. So, what do we want to talk about today? Well, first thing we want to talk about is this beautiful kitty cat who's interrupting my video. Say hello, Stella. Stella. Anyway, never fails. I try to do my work, and what happens is kitty cats want to come up and see what's going on the table. So anyway, I'm just going to try to ignore her and get going in this video. Y'all, good morning. It is Wednesday. I got a lot of notes on here. I got a lot in front of me I want to talk about this morning. But anyway, it's Wednesday. See, it is July the 30th. The moon is in Libra, which is an air sign of the zodiac. The color of the day today is yellow. Chiron goes into retrograde, which is primarily what I'm going to talk about here on this video. So hold that thought for just a moment. And not only does Chiron go into retrograde today, which is an asteroid, it's not a planet, okay? Venus goes into the sign of Cancer. So we have a lot of shifting. If you're not familiar with astrology, you probably could give two shakes, right? But for someone like me who lives and eats and breathes by her natal chart, I really do listen to the moon, the sun, the stars, spirit, the creator. And then, y'all, what's really cool is I tie it all back into my love for Jesus Christ, who is so cool. So I really enjoy doing the shadow work or the whatever work, the astrology work, like the work of the quantum, the work of the Ancient of Days. I enjoy doing that work for myself personally more than anything, but I also enjoy the fact that I am brave enough, which is a Chiron trait. I am brave enough and bold enough to come forward and talk through my own personal journey and my learning experience when it comes to, how I start my day and what's going on in the world around me and what I perceive is happening, when it comes to culture and change and integration and all the things, right? And I'm brave enough to do these videos because it's a very vulnerable, y'all, it's a very vulnerable place. Unstoppable too, by the way. It's a vulnerable place to do these videos as a healing arts practitioner, because when you work with the physical human, such as I do as a licensed massage therapist, you also realize if you're a really genuinely compassionate, caring caretaker, provider, then you're like, I want to be my best self so that I can be of service to others, right? And not intertwine my spiritual aggravation with their demons, okay? Because I, as an individual, as a human, do believe that the sources of knowledge that have come down from spirit, okay? So the messages that we get, if you're an evangelist in the evangelistic church world, then you're like, churches, okay, y'all, I'm going to tell you something. Churches, evangelical churches, and other organizations of that nature will hold conferences, okay? They'll hold conferences, and they will pay people, evangelists, to come in and give a word to the masses. Okay, so if you were in, or if you have been a part of any type of Pentecostal, evangelical, apostolic, Southern Baptist, charismatic, religious organization. I never know where these videos are going to go when I'm starting, but it's okay. The Lord wants me to say this. But if you're a part of those evangelical, very charismatic organizations, you've probably been to, a conference where people come together, they pray about what's going on in the world, very much from a global setting. One of the reasons I enjoyed being a part of a Pentecostal movement was because there was so much energy there. Not only were you giving a ton of energy as someone who was praying through for others, right? And you're like, I'm giving so much energy away, but I know, I believe, I have faith, the grain of a yellow mustard seed. Like, it's like, I believe that Jesus is going to come and he's going to fix the issue. And I'm just going to sit back and I don't have to look any further. I'm going to have faith. It's the tiniest drop of faith. But then my question is, does that then absolve the person who's praying from seeking out more information, through advanced technology, which is a subject we'll talk about at some point, right? But it's like, are you really believing in what you're praying and preaching? And are you conditioned to believe that you cannot participate in an almanac, that's very easily accessible on Amazon.com, like that is totally safe to use and goes, I'm going to wake up today and have a little talk with Jesus. And that little talk with Jesus is going to include some astrology, because I think astrology is one of those spiritual directions that I might want to be facing if the fact that the sky falls and the sun falls. And there was an 8.0 earthquake yesterday in the Pacific Ocean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, over by Hawaii and Russia. Is that the Pacific Ocean? I think it is. So anyway, it's not the Atlantic. I know that. But y'all, listen to me. If you think some of this crazy stuff in the stars, like Chiron going into retrograde while it's in the constellation Aries, which is in my natal chart, y'all, this is why I'm starting to freak out. Because it's like, oh my God, are we here to help people identify and understand that the course of astrology in our natal chart has a whole lot to do with our perception and what we see going on in our own universe of existence? It's called quantum. It's physics, y'all. It is neuroscience. It is physics. And all of a sudden, when you start to work with creative visualization, okay? Because if you don't know what stuff means, the Chiron effect, right? If you don't know what you're looking at when you look at these little symbols, in your natal chart and on a calendar, like, you have access to information, people, in mass, okay? And so back to the Pentecostal comment, we reach out with all of this energy and we go to these conferences and we pay, the church, the organization will pay these evangelical evangelists. I lost the word. They pay these evangelists to come in and speak a word over the people. Now, all of a sudden, this preacher, this evangelist, comes into these religious conferences, and the first thing that they do, because I've been in one, y'all, and I understand, like, you have to look at the audience, the stage, the people. You're like, and then all of a sudden you got to channel up to God, right? To the Godhead and go, I'm freaking scared. There is 10,000 eyeballs on me or more. It's like, what is going to come out of my mouth? Am I going to be able to reach the heart of the people so that they will intercede on behalf of their loved ones, the world, a tree, a planet, the government? Like, wow. How are we able, as prayer warriors, okay, so I'm going somewhere with this Chiron. Don't leave yet, okay? We're going to talk for a minute. As an astrologer who also has had a very large Pentecostal, evangelical, Christian background, we're taught in that denomination, we're taught that there's something in the realms called spiritual warfare. Okay, now I got your attention. So if you've watched this video, please, again, hit the like button, hit subscribe. This message needs to go out to the masses. So with this little camera and this little TV that I have as a phone, like, y'all, we can talk about big stuff happening in the universe and not let that sway our belief system that God loves us, that Jesus loves us, that, are we in the end times? I mean, prophetically, I don't know that I would call it the end times. I would probably call it a shift in consciousness. So if I were standing on the stage as a Pentecostal evangelical, preacher woman, a Jesus girl, I would bring the message of hope to people and go, first of all, stop with the fear-based preaching. Just knock it off. Like this hellfire and damnation stuff, I'm sorry. That is not the intention that Christ had when he said, hey, when you die and you come on over to, the judgment seat of Christ, like that he's going to douse you down with some kerosene and throw a match on you and light you on fire and you're going to look like a crispy goblin, right? And it's like, hey, that's not the Christ model that I want to be. And it's not the Christ model I'm going to be, which is why I do not belong to an evangelical church-based organization as a spiritual life coach and as a minister, for heaven's sakes. Because y'all, I got that certification too. It's fine. But anyway, I digress on that. Please understand, life force energy flows through you, and the knowledge that we have, the access to the elements of the universe. I pulled the water element card today, y'all. Again, let me peek you down here, excuse me, for a moment, to let you see my table. Like, this is my morning reads, okay, with my coffee. Like, when it comes to doing a reading for myself, I don't play. So if someone tells me green is green, like you're going to have, for me as a Scorpio, you're going to have to describe and identify what that color green means to me, because my brain goes, okay, it's green. I have to associate with some cognitive behavioral therapy and look around and go, well, what's the color green? Well, it's the sticky note, right? So this is how I live life, live life and love. I go, okay, if I could tap into the spirit of vibration, as soon as I wake up in the morning, sometimes I'll light a candle. Sometimes I will burn some sage. I will do something that is ritualistic every day and create my morning routine. And then I look up at the Jesus on the wall. I got two Jesuses right there. Like I got a crucifix over there. And I say, thank you, Father. Thank you, brother. Like, thank you, lover of my soul. Like, I beam back that Christ-like love energy where Jesus said to the people, to the masses, like, I'm sure Jesus said it. I could probably find it. Don't be fooled, by imitations, okay? So, when I see people struggling spiritually, and I know that they love Jesus, and I know that they are Christian-oriented, and I tell them, and I start talking to them that, that, hey, I'm a tarot reader, right? I'm a deep diver into astrology. Like, I work with the elements of the universe. I believe in the quantum. I believe in healing. I believe in Reiki. I teach 7 levels of Reiki. I'm a massage therapist. Like, I have kids. My children were raised up in the Pentecostal church. And they've turned out to be that we've all left. We've been gone now 10 years from religious organizations. But I will say one thing. My children did have a fear of cause and effect in their life, okay? But now as adults, as my children are adult, my daughter's 33. She's the Jesus girl. She's 33, right? So, and she keeps seeing 333, which she shared with me the other day. I was like, you are having your awakening, you little triple goddess, you. It's true. I'm like, okay. But for me, it's like human consciousness and love. Like, I look at every moment as an opportunity to heal the state of the human condition. And one thing, y'all, that I'm asking as I continue to do this journey on my YouTube, on Facebook Lives, wherever I am, on stage, which, I do enjoy being on stage, y'all, a little bit. So, but we talked about that. That's my 10th house in Leo, okay? But working with these elements, let me tell you something. It's real important to your spiritual health, okay, and your wellness. So, why would I bring up Chiron going into retrograde today? And like, I'm almost, when these big shifts happen, and I know in my natal chart, let me see. So, this is my scribble chart, okay? It's my natal chart. And Chiron is known in your astrology. Okay, so I'm going to go on here, right here, talking about your birth chart for just a minute. Just a minute. Don't hang up. Your birth chart looks like this. Okay, it's a pie chart. 12 pieces, 12 houses of the zodiac, 12 signs of the zodiac, all kinds of meaning. You know, several planets of the universe. Generally, we have 9. We teach our, our kids, we have 9 planets, I think. When we're teaching them in elementary school, there's more than that. We're talking about our solar system as an orbital event. Okay, so, but you have asteroids. There are these large hovering beings that are called asteroids, that are also swinging around our universe with the planets. And they have, here's as an astrologer, here's how I look at this. They have metallic, okay, so you know how we go sourcing for metals on different planets, right? We're looking for water. I'm just channeling. I did not precognate this, okay? So we go out and we look out in the universe with our space probes, and we're looking for minerals that can help support life force on Earth. And then we realize with advanced technology, there might be beings here or angels here that are here to teach us, which is the book of Enoch. Telling secrets now, everybody. So in the book of Enoch, it's like the book of Enoch says, the angels came down and they slept with the women. And this is also in the Bible. And so the angels came down and taught us how to forge for iron, how to forge for herbs, how to make medicine, plant medicine. The angels taught us, how to create babies, that kind of stuff. So anyway, and magical babies, which is really kind of interesting knowing that in culture, we talk about people who have the Rh negative blood type factor, and how we laugh now that it's a conspiracy theory that those are the hybrids that, people tried to kill out and snuff out, or God did during the flood. But then I'm like, I don't know. God to me seems like more of a creator. Yes, I know he's like a Shiva and he will knock you down and things have to be burned down in order to be built up again. So again, both sides of the fence, y'all. Both sides of the fence. I understand why, people say, you got to be careful when you're working with all this alternative energy. Oh my goodness. Those alternative realms, you can't play in those sandboxes. I beg to differ. And here's the thing. What I have learned as a human being, what my natal chart has shown me, and also what Spirit showed me many, many years ago, is that the reason why I will be away from the walls of the classic church experience is because I have to be out here in the field as a street evangelist, really looking at what's going on in the world around me, going, oh my gosh, the words that Jesus spoke were very prophetic. I also know that hellfire and damnation does have an element of trauma to it. And so churches and organizations that start to make money who are exempt from taxes, they are like, we need more money. We need more money because we want the biggest part of the fatted lamb. And so they pay. The church, the organizations, they pay for these evangelical preachers to come, men and women, and give you a word of encouragement from the Lord. Sometimes it's a word of discipline. I would call that karma. So if I were somebody who was going to speak over 10,000 people and really look at the cards in front of me and go, let me pull one card. My card this morning said, clear yourself. So I pulled the water element. I pulled clear yourself kind of at the same time. So Doreen Virtue, I love you. Shout out to Doreen Virtue, Black Moon Astrology, all the peoples. Y'all, you can Google this stuff. I don't have to drop the links below. Let's not hold each other's hands, okay? Let's be accountable, for a minute and put our hands to our heart and go, you know what? You can find this stuff online. It's a mountain of information, okay? But will you even use the tool? That's the question here. As your spiritual life coach, as your wellness coach, as this practitioner of healing arts, or if I even taught you anything, are you going to put it into application? Y'all, that's a big question. So Chiron is in my chart in the sign of Aries. When I was born, Okay, when I was born, with the moment I was born in 1972. Okay, that's just as far as we'll go. As a Scorpio, as a double Scorpio with a Cancer moon. I am a watery sign of the zodiac, okay? But I was born into an area of my chart which was Aries, Mars, first house of the zodiac. So, and that's not uncommon. See all this here? This is all that energy smushed together. And then you put Chiron, who is known in astrology, mythologically known in astrology as the wounded healer. So this little dude here, this little asteroid, man, a little cakey, going around. Okay, going around in the nebulous, is known as the wounded healer in your natal chart. Now, my wounded healer rests in Aries, where Chiron is right now, and will be for a while, in retrograde the moment I was born. So the Chiron is in the exact same spot in the sky right now, this day, 2025, July 30th. Chiron is in the same spot in the universe as it was the moment I was born with my natal chart. And Chiron is the wounded healer, which is why I am so ready to talk about trauma and how you can use the energy tools that you have available to you and not have to pay an exorbitant amount of money